Thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our first virtual coffee morning, and today we're going to be talking all about self-care. My name is Ashley Turner, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Well-Oiled Machine. For those of you guys who don't know about the Well-Oiled Machine, we are all about living a healthy lifestyle and having your body work like a well-oiled machine, both body, mind, and spirit. So I'm joined here today with two lovely ladies, and I'll let them introduce themselves in just one moment. But I don't know if you can see them on the screen, but we've got Rebecca here from Well-Oiled Machine as well. We've also got Salima Adala from the Food Witch. So, like I said, I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So, Rebecca, do you want to start off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Rebecca, and I'm a certified aromatherapist. I've been in the business for about 6-7 years now. I'm primarily from an events background, so I'm used to living a bit of a stressful life. I've kind of become the relaxation self-care queen recently, so that's kind of where I stand on self-care. Yeah.
Perfect.
And hi, I'm Sal. I'm the Food Witch, and I am a management consultant turned classically trained chef turned intuitive chef. And my work centers around food as self-care and the intersection between food and self-development, which for me has been the thing that has helped me to make the most of my life and release a lot of stress and get mindfulness and presence. So I share that now with you guys.
Perfect. No, thanks guys for sharing a little bit more. So self-care, why are we talking about self-care? Well, just to kind of give you guys a little bit more background about myself as well, is I've been using essential oils and actually been in the mind, body, and spirit business for the last few years. But before that, I was working in corporate. So I was an accountant in my other life, and I worked about 60 to 80 hours a week, and I was burnt out beyond belief, both mentally, physically, emotionally. The only thing that was keeping me upright was Starbucks, and a lot of it. But so when I kind of started dabbling in, I've always dabbled in and out of wellness and self-care and, you know, all the buzzwords that you hear about, and somebody says, oh, have you tried yoga and it will help you sleep better, or have you tried meditation because then you'll be able to concentrate more? And so I tried it here and there, but never really kind of got into a routine with it or anything. But when I was working in corporate, I was just like at my burning end, and I needed to try something. And that's kind of how I started to listen a little bit more and start to realize that things like self-care, meditation, mindset, mindfulness, intuition is not just buzzwords, that they're actually things that we need to start incorporating into our life, because otherwise you're just kind of like a chicken with its head cut off running around everywhere. And so that's when I really started to dive into it a little bit more and realize that there's something more to it. So I'm really glad that we can share with you guys today. And as you can see, we're all from very different backgrounds, so we all have different opinions on all of this sort of stuff. So I hope that you guys can get something from it, definitely. And have you guys, like, I guess, for me anyways, going back to the self-care and the buzzwords and that sort of thing, it's in the media so much that people just, and maybe Rebecca or Sal, you can kind of comment on it, but from the people that I kind of hang around with, self-care is just a thing that, you know, yeah, I'll go and do yoga when I have time, or I'll go and I'm going to try and meditate, but I can't meditate more than 30 seconds because I just can't. You know, but people, it's really hard to kind of get into it because people just assume that it's just something like almost like a fad, but it's something that you really need to focus in on yourself, hey?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, people think it's this massive task to look after yourself. You have to take time out to do something, but it's much simpler than that. It could be like reading a book, taking 5 minutes to have a nice cup of tea or something like that. It doesn't have to be, you know, a massive yoga session or anything like that. But yeah, and it's not like, I don't know, it's anything that's easy, anything that makes you feel good, and it's whenever you can. I mean, yeah, if you can set time aside to put the effort in and relax, and great, but if you can just catch 5 minutes somewhere, then do it, because you'll feel the benefit from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, and this is something that, and we spoke about this yesterday in the session that you were at, Ashley, and we'll come on to it a lot today when I speak, is particularly when it comes to food, but self-care in general, it's about reorientating how you prioritize and see it, and kind of elevating it to something that is meaningful and impactful. And when I first started working with my coach, one of the things that she always used to say to me almost every session, whilst I was wrestling with this idea of, I don't have time to look after myself, I've got too much to do, I need to earn money, I need to work, I've got a business to run. She says, you can't pour from an empty cup. And the truth of the matter is, we are so used to running on empty that we don't realize how much more we have to offer if we take the time to look after ourselves and replenish our own resources before then offering them to other people. And when you start to do that, and you start to realize how much more productive and efficient and effective and happy you can be when you look after yourself, it becomes self-reinforcing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And actually, back to that point, Sal, yesterday on your webinar for your food membership, that one of the things that I really enjoyed when you were talking about is you said, when people say they don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, you said instead, change the story and say, I am not prioritizing. And then all of a sudden you're a bit like, oh, you know, like I'm not prioritizing to make a healthy meal for myself, or I'm not prioritizing to, you know, take 5 minutes for myself. And it sounds silly, and all of a sudden you think, what the heck?
100%.
Yeah. So next time that if you are that person that doesn't have time and runs around all the time, just change that story and just see how it feels for you. And then you might change what you're doing in your day to day. Definitely.
And what I really like about that, Ashley, is it's a powerful way for you to remind yourself of your relationship with yourself and the need for you to offer yourself love and kindness. Because if you start realizing that you're not prioritizing your sustenance, your nourishment, your joy, your sleep, your movement, then how do you be the best version of yourself to do all of the things that you expect from yourself in your day-to-day life? I think that's the thing that we need to remind ourselves about self-care. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity for us to do the amazing, incredible things that we demand from ourselves every day.
Yeah, definitely. No, 100%. So talking about that, one of the main, or a few of the main things kind of that I want to do with self-care, instead of going and saying, you know, you should do yoga, you should do meditation, you should sit down and, you know, in a quiet room for 2 hours on your own, which we know, like Rebecca said, is not really feasible for everyone to do. So I just want to bring it back to kind of the foundation, if you will, the basics, and turn it kind of inward. So like Sal was saying before, and Rebecca, is that you basically can't take care of anyone else unless you can take care of yourself. And it always starts with you, and you need to start prioritizing for yourself. So one of the things that is another big buzzword, which we'll dive into a little bit more, is about mindset and mindfulness, and just also what's in here, but also what's in your surroundings kind of thing around you, because you have a huge effect how you're feeling inside, and also what's going on around you, what you're putting into your body, that sort of thing. So I don't know if Rebecca, I might put you on the spot a bit here, but for those of you guys that have not had the privilege to see Rebecca's house in Zoom or in real life, it is beautiful. And the way that she has organized everything, she's got a feng shui going on. But one of the things that I really like about Rebecca is the way that she sets everything out. And I think when you walk into a room with her, or if you are on a Zoom call with her, you can kind of see how her whole room is set up and the environment around. And I think that really helps with kind of keeping your mind not jumbled and keeping everything quite clear and open.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was completely the opposite. I was always like, my room was a mess. My mum was always threatening to put stuff in black bin bags and chuck, like it was crazy. And I think I changed probably when I met my boyfriend. He's a bit OCD, and I got used to keeping it like it really is. What did they say? It's a tidy house, tidy mind, something like that.
Yeah.
But and I I'm really into interiors. I love to be in an environment that's just relaxing to me, and I think it's key. Like, so we're in my bedroom, it's like these lovely pink warming colors, and I just like to like put my lamps on and get into bed and just do whatever I need to do. It's really about kind of having that environment where you're able to relax, and like whether that's just putting a candle on somewhere, or I don't know, like I said, choosing your favorite color, things that make you happy, and keeping things organized. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit OCD myself, but I really find that it helps. Like when I sit down to do my work, everything's in the place, I know where it is. And yeah, for me, that is a big part of self-care for me. I have to make sure that I'm organized, to make sure that everything's organized up here.
Yeah, I really like that point too, Rebecca, is that like your house is obviously gorgeous and everything's kind of in a perfect place. But if your house is not, my house, if any, well, both of you guys have been there, both virtually and in person, is not the picture perfect. But taking something that I like a candle or a diffuser, or even just a nice warm blanket and sitting, and all of a sudden it changes the environment, and it changes my mood so that I can have a bit of self-care, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's so important just to create a space, even if it's a little nook somewhere that you can go to when you need to. You don't have to have your whole house perfect, but yeah, make sure you've got somewhere to go to.
Yeah, definitely. And so Sal, obviously you're the food witch, and food is super important. And I really like some of the things that you touch on in your food membership about kind of what you put into your body and how you create the food, and basically how it all kind of ties into self-care. And I think that's really important for people, because a lot of times we just assume that I'm just going to go slap together a dish and then I'm just going to eat it in front of the TV or whatever and carry on. And if you can comment on that a little bit more and how we can get a little bit better at that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, if we relate it to the mindset aspect, and also what Rebecca and you were just talking about your environment and the way that you interact with your surroundings and how important that is, even just from the story that you tell yourself, that, you deserve to have a space for yourself. It's worth prioritizing your time to make that happen, whatever it might be in that context. You have a house. We all have to spend a lot of time in our houses at the moment. And similarly, we all have to eat. These are quite fundamental and basic. Our environment and our food and our relationship with cooking are primal, basic things that everybody needs to take care of. And because of the demands of living in a capitalist patriarchal system, regardless of where you are, even people like us who are self-employed, following a vocation, we still have to be part of the machine, and being part of that machine takes a lot of your resources away from you. It causes you to prioritize external things over internal ones. And so we start to see work and making money as kind of more important than having a peaceful environment or feeding ourselves in a way that is nourishing mind, body, and soul. And actually what I'm saying is, and you can do it with work as well. And I think that's what I've done on my journey from coming to a management consultant to being a chef. It's like, just change the story that you're telling in your head. Is you get to have the lovely house environment, the warmth, the solitude, the peace. You get to have food that's nice, that's enjoyable, that you like to eat, that you don't have an argument in your head with every time you're eating. And so it's about choosing the path that you want to go down and working towards it. So food can be a battleground, or it can be a life-affirming part of your life and self-care, and it can be anything in between. And depending on the day, it might be more to one side than the other. But knowing that it's possible and productive in your life to try and make it something good is such an important step in breaking the negative cycles that you have when it comes to your self-care. You need to start reminding yourself that it's worthwhile, that you deserve it. And we all have negative thoughts. We all have thoughts about, I don't have time, I can't do it, you know, I need to do X, Y, or Z instead. And part of the work of self-care is the incremental mindset change of reminding yourself that that's not true, that you don't have to always buy into that story of other things are more important. And it, you know, it's a lifelong practice. It's not linear. We all struggle with it, but having it as something that you're working towards, I think, is an important mindset change to kind of make it a little bit easier to access.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I think really hit home for me the other day was I actually, I was asking Sal about self-sabotage and food. So basically, you know, you might go for a walk in the morning or maybe for a run, you've eaten salad for lunch and you had yogurt for breakfast and a fruit salad, like you're all healthy, all in. And then all of a sudden dinner rolls around and you're like, I want pizza and I want a lot of it. And all of a sudden, you know, you start feeling really bad and you think, oh, I've just literally ruined everything, because that's what social media tells us. And that's what everybody tells us, that all of a sudden, you know, me going and working out, eating my salad, my fruit salad, all of this sort of stuff is just kaput because I'm going to go and smash a big pizza. But one of the things that Sal, and maybe you can comment and kind of elaborate from this, but one of what I got from it was basically, it's okay. And stop beating yourself up about it and just go and eat it and feel good about it. And then you know, it's going to take the negative completely out of the food, but it's also, your body's going to be like, okay, well, I can have that whenever I want. So I don't necessarily need it all the time, but if I do want it and I want to, you know, make myself feel good because of it, then go for it. And I really like that. I tried that with Oreo cookies last night. And it was perfect. I mean, I had a few Oreo cookies, but I didn't want to go and eat the whole thing because I was like, I can have as many as I want. But instead of just eating them, watching TV, I kind of stopped and just took a little bit more of a minute for myself and was a little more mindful of what I was eating and actually enjoyed them, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think one of the things for me on my kind of overall self-development journey that's been really important is recognizing where I live by externally driven values and externally driven expectations, and where I kind of focus on what's right, what I should do, what other people think, versus the things that matter to me personally, intuitively, you know, in my heart, in my soul, and focusing on those instead. And when it comes to food, diet culture is the big external force that creates these obstacles, barriers, negative mindsets. And everything that you've just said, diet culture has caused for you to believe that some foods are morally better than others. Some are healthy, some are unhealthy, some are good, some are bad. And B, that you need to earn the right to eat bad food. So then you have this cycle of healthy eating and exercise to give you the reward of naughty foods, treats, cheat days, whatever it might be. And for some reason, you buy into the idea that that's a better way to live. And all you're doing is making the moments where you follow your intuitive connection to food, when you give into your craving for pizza, when you eat chocolate when you want it, you're second guessing them and you're telling yourself that's not a valid feeling. And in order to have that feeling, you need to earn it through exercise. It's not okay to want pizza. It's not okay to want cookies. It is okay if you exercise. It is okay if you eat salad. And breaking all of those thought cycles is the main thing, because actually you can still eat the salad, do the exercise and eat the pizza and feel great about all of it. The thing that's made you feel bad is diet culture in your head telling you somehow it's morally better or worse to go one way than the other. And if you listen to your body and your intuition, and this is the thing for me, this is the big thing for me, is our bodies and our intuition are so smart. You know, they can cope with us eating pizza for 3 days and ride it out and tell us with signals, we need these nutrients, we need to eat this. And actually, you need to work with the cravings for the bad foods to allow the cravings for the good foods to also come out. You need to work with your intuition. cravings, memories, emotional connections to food are things you need to honor, not subdue. Otherwise, your intuition cannot tell you how to eat. And that's what it's there for, right? Our relationship with food is so natural, so intuitive, so cyclical. It's amazing how the seasons, our farming, the way we cultivate, the way we cook, it's such a huge part of our lives. And we have so much power to make that a force for good just for ourselves. And diet culture has just ruined everything.
Yeah.
I've suffered from that myself. Like, I'm terrible for binge eating. I'll go on a massive diet for ages and I'll do really, really well, like Ashley said, and then I'll just ruin it. And then that's it. Like, I'll have a pizza and I'll be like, it's done. And then it's a week of just eating bad. But I mean, it is that kind of culture of feeling guilty for being selfish. But sometimes you have to be selfish and you have to look after yourself. And that doesn't mean that it has to be something healthy. Sometimes looking after yourself is eating a pizza and giving yourself that extra love.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And the big win from doing things like that, Rebecca, is eating the pizza and eating it with joy and with the feeling of like, I deserve this. It's not I deserve a treat, not I deserve something naughty. It's I deserve to honor my body. I deserve to honor the signals that my body is giving me, because that's what it's there for. And somebody else telling me pizza is bad is just as ludicrous as me saying pizza is good. So which story do I choose to believe?
Yeah, no, 100%. And actually, as you, when you were talking, Sal, about kind of, you know, what your body wants and just surrendering to that, it's, think back to when you go on vacation or something like that and you're eating out every single night and, you know, it's amazing and you're loving it, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're eating out. And by the end of the week, you just want to go home and you just want to have a jacket potato, or you just want to, you know, have cereal for dinner, because your body is like, I don't want every, you know, like, I don't want to overindulge anymore. I just want something small. I just want a piece of toast with just butter on it, you know, what have you. And if you do just listen to your body, it's about kind of, I think, taking a step back and just, I guess, being present with what you're eating and being present with what you're making, and just being present in, you know, in all kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the mindfulness aspect is so important when it comes to food as well, because, you know, like you say, I think the more we disconnect from our food, the easier it is to buy into those negative stories, to listen to the other voices, because we don't have that relationship with what we're eating, with what we're cooking, and being engaged with the cooking process, with the eating process, being mindful and just letting your senses switch on more enables you to start to tap into those fullness cues, those hunger cues, those things that your body often tells you that you second guess with portion control or calorie counting, or, you know, cutting out carbs. Actually, the more you allow your body to, you know, let you even make the mistakes, so that you can get intuitive signals and let those speak a little bit more, I think is really, really important. And mindfulness, in any regard that you can get it, for me, is a really key way to getting more access to your intuition.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess for those of you guys that are sitting here thinking, how do I change my mindset, or what do I do, or where do I even start? Just start with something simple of, you know, what makes you feel good. So is it eating a piece of pizza? Is it sitting down and reading a book? Is it just to kind of get present with yourself? Now, I know that's easier said than done, but one of the tools that we work with Well-Oiled Machine are essential oils. And one of the great things about essential oils is they obviously help us physically, but they can also help us emotionally. And so people think it's crazy that I say just by smelling an oil, so putting it in a diffuser or literally opening up the cap of a bottle and sniffing it, that it can change your story and that it can change how you're feeling. But it can actually. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a history, or a little bit of a biology lesson, if you guys would like. So go ahead and just put your fingers on the bridge of your nose. So there you go. So basically, this is our olfactory nerve, okay? And our olfactory nerve is what sends signals to our limbic system and all around our body, and basically helps us get essential oils into our bodies. It's the fastest way to access our brains. So that is how I'm talking about how it can change your story just by using essential oils. So this might sound a little bit weird to you guys. So what I'm going to do is I just want to illustrate how that works in modern day, I guess. Have you guys ever broke your arm or anything like that and went and had to go to the hospital and had to go under anesthesia? Yeah, it sounds like yes. And when you did, what did they do? Did they give you the gas mask?
No, so I don't know if I should say this on a public Zoom recording, but I'm going to anyway. It was quite a long time ago. I went to have my wisdom teeth out, and it was when I was a management consultant, so I had private insurance. So I went privately, and they were very impacted. So I had to go under general anaesthetic to have them taken out. And the doctor asked me, have you ever had general anaesthetic before? And I was like, no, I've never had it before. And he was like, oh, okay, let me give you the fun version. So he gave me the drugs, the second drug, much longer after the first drug. So he just basically let me have a really big morphine high for like a minute and then put me under. So that's what I got. I got really high for a minute and then I went to sleep.
And so how did he give, like, what was it, pills or?
No, it was intravenous. It was an injection. So I have no idea what it was, but he just smiled at me.
And you were like, this is perfect. Well, 100%, we're not shooting the essential oils.
No.
They're not through the intravenous. But most people, although I might want your doctor's number if I ever have to go in for surgery, just in case, make it a little bit more enjoyable. But most people, like I remember when I was younger and I broke my arm and I was about 5, they told me it was a balloon and they just put a gas mask over my face, and which sounds really awful, but basically just to breathe into it. And what you're breathing in is synthetic compounds, right? So it's literally, and then they tell you to count from 10 down to 1. And by the time that we count down, we're completely knocked out because our olfactory system is telling the rest of our body that it's, basically that's what the synthetic compounds are doing, and it's knocking us out completely, shutting down. And that's how essential oils and natural compounds work with our body as well. So when you're smelling the essential oils, it works with our olfactory, and then it works with our limbic system and all over our body. Mm-hmm. And so to change your story with mindfulness, if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't even know where to start or what to do, start with an essential oil. And think about what you're looking for. Are you looking to kind of just get into a little nook and calm down and just have a little bit of stress-free? If you're looking for that, you're not exactly sure where to start, take a lavender essential oil. And just what I like to do is I like to just take the oil, put a drop in my hand, just one drop, rub it together, and just cup and inhale a few times. It's simple. It's a matter of 30 seconds to do it. And your body is helping. Like Sal said, your body is very clever. Let the intuition go from there. You want to calm down. You're not 100% sure how you can do it. Let tools like essential oils help. Mm-hmm. And just take 30 seconds, breathe in, and then go and sit in the nook in the corner, maybe with a candle or a nice little blanket, and just have a few minutes.
Sorry, I've just been itching to say something this whole time you've been going on. It's so true what you say about the olfactory system and emotion, and it's such a great moment to talk about food and cooking as well, because we will all have a smell that when we smell it, we remember something, we were reminded of someone, a moment, a feeling, our favorite meal, food, ingredient. And so much of getting access to mindfulness and joy in the kitchen comes from surrounding yourself with those things, you know, working with ingredients that you enjoy the smell of, that speak to you emotionally, spiritually, that remind you of things, that provide you with a connection that is tangible so that it brings you along for the journey. And taste is more smell than it is your tongue. Like without your sense of smell, your sense of taste is very, very limited. And so basically, yes, from a food perspective, from an oil perspective, from an emotional perspective, that's like the gateway to all of that emotional kind of and sensory input, which I think is so important for self-care, which is why oils and food are just, for me, it's like that practical spirituality. It's that tangible thing of like, I'm connected to something else, and oils and food and cooking are just really practical ways to achieve that.
Definitely. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Rebecca.
No, I just like that. So like you said, the limbic system, it's where you've got your memories, it's where you've got your emotions. And I mean, I've used essential oils for years and years, and I'm kind of at that point now where I have my routines in place, and I can just open a bottle at night time and I instantly know my brain's going to start to relax and shut down, because I associate that smell with relaxation, and it kind of becomes, it's just a big circle for me.
Yeah.
Of
yeah, I know, 100%. And that's exactly it. Just as you start to use them more and more, or you start to say, okay, well, lavender, or you can change your story. You could have orange, you know, you could have orange essential oil, and that's your calming oil.
Exactly.
And you could just use it every single day, but your mindset, what you're telling yourself during that time is that this is my time to calm down. I'm gonna smell the oil, or I'm gonna go and make, like Sal's saying, I'm gonna go and make a nice meal, something that is homey and that makes me feel good, that reminds me of maybe my grandma's cooking, or reminds me of you know, being at my mom's house when I was younger, and our favorite meal that she'd make on a Sunday, something that kind of reminds you of something, and it helps you kind of be present with everything, but it makes you feel good, right? And it's all about, it's what your body's doing, you know, subconsciously, with your limbic system and your olfactory nerve and everything else that your body's doing. But at the end of the day, it's helping you inside here, right?
And this is the thing this was the game changer for me when it came to spirituality, was making the realization that the physical objects of our self-care and our spirituality are less important than the energy and the focus with which we apply to them. So it could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be food, it could be essential oils. But if the exchange of energy is one of love to yourself, of being present, of going inward, then it could be crystals, it could be going for a walk with your dog, it could be sitting and staring at a tree, it could be literally anything. If your mindset and the energy that you're giving to it and the purpose that you give to it is something that you believe in.
Yeah. It's just about. Go on,
I think it's important that you realize that, you know, it's not a one size fits all either. Like, you're told to do yoga or meditation, that doesn't necessarily work for you. You just keep trying until you find something that is going to really.
I said for years that food and cooking was the closest thing I ever got to meditating in my life. And now I do yoga and I do meditate. But sometimes when I am in a place where I'm struggling to access those things, I know if I go into the kitchen and just cook something, or even just make myself a cup of tea, I can access that presence and that mindfulness so much more easily when it comes to a ritual in the kitchen. That, again, like you say, it's the things that work for you, not the things that you're told to do. And that's, again, not looking externally, it's looking inwardly to yourself. And often that's kind of the hardest thing to do, because you don't have anyone telling you what to do. But that's where all the magic is, I think, is when you start to give yourself agency.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, I like how you said before, Rebecca, that like you can either, you know, you can have a set time that every week you have self-care, and this is your time for something, depending if you are a routine kind of person, or if you can catch 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there. If you don't have that structure in your life, then just do what you can, but do what makes you kind of, what whatever makes you happy kind of thing. And yeah.
And doesn't that come back to intuition again, right? It's not someone else's way of doing it. It's the way that speaks to you. It's the way that feels in your gut, like the right way to achieve that feeling.
Yeah. And just almost small little steps. Like you don't have to all of a sudden to be, you know, have self-care as we call it. You don't have to do your yoga, meditation, read a book, have your essential oils and cook a big meal. You don't need all of that. You can, sorry, go on.
So you open yourself up to the trap of perfectionism and comparison then, don't you? It's like, I'm not doing self-care well enough.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a terrible road to go down. You can offer yourself one moment of love, you're doing self-care good enough.
Definitely. So let me ask you guys, what would you say that, and obviously, like you're saying, it changes for you, but what does self-care mean to you? Like, what are you doing currently that you find puts you in your happy place? Because obviously we know that we're not out and about as much as possible. We're kind of confined within four walls. So what does kind of give you joy, I guess?
Sal, do you want to go first?
Sure. So this year, my dogs have been like I don't want to say my saviors, but they have been like such a great source of, I'm sorry, 1 second.
I'll go first then.
No worries.
I'm actually just glad that my dog hasn't been barking, to be fair. I'm quite pleased with him. But I think, yeah, like you said, we can't go out at the moment. And I think for a lot of people, looking after themselves, the things that they enjoy and the thing that brings them peace is their friends and family and going out and seeing people and socializing. I think that's what people have really struggled with. And even those that have been lucky enough for their lives to not be affected so much by this pandemic, just to not be able to go out and see people that they love is really hard. So I think people have had to find different ways to relax. And I mean, that's certainly been part of it for me. I know it's an unpopular opinion, I love a bath. Not everybody does. I just love to just mellow and just forget about everything else. And whether I take a book in there, my phone, and whatever it is that I do, it's about shutting the door and saying, no, everything else can come later. This is time for me. And, you know, once I've done that, I can come out and then I can call up my friends and I can speak to them. I can get that fix afterwards. But it's about just kind of putting myself before the other stuff that I do.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
Real life. So what was I saying? So my dogs have definitely been a big part of my self-care, just because they're a real emotional mirror. So you can really get a sense of your emotional state from them. You have to leave the house, which is also good, so you don't get stuck at home. But I've actually, this kind of lockdown, quarantine, pandemic, however long it's stretched out for, it's been a real exercise for me in actually refiguring out self-care. You know, I'm a very work-driven person. I thrive on busyness, and that's been my main problem in life, is I would rather be busy than anything else. And it's because I get my sense of meaning and purpose from work. And so for the last 3 years, my focus of my self-development has been trying to get meaning from other things in life and kind of self-validate and change the way that I see myself rather than distracting myself with work. And this pandemic has been like a real eye-opener for that. So, you know, losing my normal exercise routine, losing the people that I would normally connect with at yoga, when I go climbing, not being able to cook for people. These are the things that I missed the most, and trying to get some of those feelings back in a kind of more isolated world has been the real focus of my self-care. And sometimes, you know, at the moment, doing 20 minutes of yoga twice a week is my self-care. And it used to be 9 hours of exercise a week, because I would just go out climbing, yoga all the time, and not having those things, like you say, the connection, the outlet, the socializing, I find it much harder to self-motivate. So again, it's not judging yourself, being kind to yourself, and taking every step as a win. So I got up and I did 20 minutes of yoga today. And yes, 6 months ago, I might have been doing 3 hours of yoga a week, but so what? I got up, I did something for myself. I was present. There's no point in comparing it to anything or anyone else. It's the moment that counts. So I think, again, it's about mindset, right? I could beat myself up for not doing enough yoga, or I could congratulate myself for doing 20 minutes of it. And I think 2020 is the year for congratulating yourself on the small wins.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, like you said, what you normally do for self-care, getting out there or just going and blowing off steam, you can't do at the moment. You know, like I love to go to yoga, and then I have breakfast or coffee with my friend afterwards, and we have a chat and a laugh. And then, you know, I love taking the bus home. I love the double decker and just sitting at the very top. Like that's my but it's great for me. And I've got 45 minutes of just kind of zoning out and being on the bus, which sounds ridiculous. But for me, I quite like that. I like to zone out. Like Rebecca said, she likes to be in the bath. But obviously right now it's a different experience, right? So I actually was struggling as well. Like, what do I enjoy? Because I work. That's, you know, I've spent the last few years literally just working, and I love what I do. So while I'm doing it, I'm loving it. But at the same time, things have changed. So I kind of sat down and I said, what do I do when I go on holiday? What do I enjoy? What do I find myself doing, you know, after a few days? What do I find myself doing? And I normally, after a few days, you know, I might have maybe too many glasses of wine the first night and get overexcited or have a big meal. And, but I love to read a book. I love romance novels. I love to go for a walk. Or if there's a gym there, I go to the gym. I don't like going to the gym back home, but it goes back to the diet culture thing. When I'm at home, I feel guilty if I don't go to the gym. I'll get a gym membership and then I won't go, and I'll be like, oh, you know, and then I just feel really bad. But when I'm on holiday, I just love it. I just love going. And if I spend 30 minutes or if I spend 2 hours, it doesn't even matter. If I, you know, bust a gut, or if I just kind of take pictures of myself there, whatever, I'm there, I'm enjoying myself because there's no expectations. And so that's kind of what I've started to get back to. This morning I did, there's a loop around where we're staying right now. And it's only about, I think it's 2 miles or something. It's not very far, but it doesn't matter. It gets me out. It's a beautiful day. There's some hills that burn. And by the end of it, my mind's clear and I'm just ready to start my day. And so I think that if you're not sure what self-care means to you, if you're not sure where to even start, what do you do on holiday? What would you do if you had a few minutes and you had a break? And start there, I think.
I mean, when I go on holiday, I like to do nothing. But to be fair, like absolutely nothing. But if that's what it takes to have a bit of time for yourself to just sit there and do nothing, then do it. Feel good about it.
Exactly.
Definitely. And yeah, go on.
So one of the things that occurred to me when you were saying that as well was, and I had this a lot in the first lockdown when everything was like, you know, if you leave your house, it's for 1 hour a day. It was like that feeling of like suddenly, well, if I can't do the things that I want to do, what's the point? If I can't go out and do yoga, what's the point of doing it at home? It's not the same. And again, it's about reminding yourself why you do it, right? And that's why the doing nothing or the doing what you do on holiday is such a powerful example. It's because when you go on holiday, there is no agenda, there is no expectation, there is no reward or outcome or plan. This is finally 2 weeks for myself. I get to do whatever the bloody hell I want. And nobody can tell me otherwise. And my out of office is on and life is good. And you do all of the things that make you feel incredible. And that's what self-care is about. It's not about performing. It's not about ticking a box. It's not about doing things in a linear, restricted fashion that work. It's about being able to find joy and a moment of peace and mindfulness in a multitude of ways so that you can constantly draw on that source of energy through life.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. So I love that, you guys. I definitely do. So I'm going to leave that there because I think that we're running close to time, but I hope that everybody's kind of got something out of it. Now, if people want to follow you a little bit more and hear more about what you do, and because obviously you're not just about self-care and mindfulness, but there's a lot more going on with, you know, what you do personally as well as business-wise, how can they kind of get a hold of you?
So I am most kind of available on Instagram, so at foodwitchsal, and my website is thefoodwitch.com. So I have a lot of online stuff now, as you can imagine. So I've written a book about our relationship with food. I've got a subscription site with loads of food and cooking resources, but also it's about food as self-care. So you've got places you can look for nice ingredients, you've got playlists that you can cook by, you've got things to make your kitchen life easier. I've got a whole course about intuitive cooking, everything kind of to do with food as self-care and an access to your intuition. So check out my website, check out my Instagram, and just send me a message and let's have a chat.
Awesome. And Rebecca?
Well, I mean, I'm with you. I'm on Well-Oiled Machine. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We do all kinds of things, self-care tips especially are kind of our thing at the moment. Obviously essential oil based, but we obviously like to branch out as well. One thing I wanted to add to Sal though is I follow Sal on Instagram and she makes me salivate. The stuff that she puts up there is incredible. So yeah, go and follow her, but you will get some cravings, believe me.
Yes. Definitely. The banana bread. If you can make the banana bread, make the banana bread because it's like so yummy.
You do love banana bread.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I just want to add on that for the Well-Oiled Machine is obviously you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we do a lot of webinars. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about essential oils and how they can help you change your story, then definitely get in touch. We do them weekly and have different workshops where we're looking into more experience-based workshops as we're kind of all at home so we can smell and sniff all together. So I hope that was useful for you guys, and thank you all for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys soon.